So who are the other trustees joining us tonight?
So it's just 4 of you. So you, Mayor Larson, Trustee Corbelin, and then I think we're just missing Trustee Coombs Ismail.
So light load today of us.
Yes.
Obviously, we are not going to get started until Eric shows because, well, we can't.
He said WebEx is loading slowly.
That happened to a couple of us tonight.
Yeah. I had that issue with other platforms today, like other meeting services. It's just today.
Just must be the day. Yep.
There he is.
Hey, welcome, Eric. You waded through the updating or whatever of WebEx that everyone else was suffering through as well. Well, I mean, in that case, I think I see the 4 members of the Board of Trustees we expect to have in attendance this evening. So at 7:03 p.m., we will call to order this meeting of the BOT for Tuesday, December 21st, 2021. Macy, if you would please call the roll.
Mayor Larson.
Here.
Trustee Taylor. Trustee Apt. Trustee Coombs Ismail.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Baumhover. Trustee Danforth.
Here.
Trustee Corbelin.
Here.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Macy. We have 5 items on the consent agenda this evening. Any trustees have questions, comments, or a motion regarding the consent agenda?
The motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it. It's Tanya.
Second from Tanya. Thank you. Macy, if you'll please call the vote.
Okay. Mayor Larson.
Yes.
Trustee Coombs Ismail.
Yes.
Trustee Danforth.
Yes.
And Trustee Corbelin.
Yes.
Consent
Thank
agenda
you.
is passed unanimously. We will move on to public comment on non-agenda items. If anyone from the public would like to speak on anything that's not on our agenda, now is your chance. Catch our attention, start speaking up, do a dance, and you can have up to 3 minutes to let us know what you're thinking about.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. The floor is yours. Oh, please just identify yourself and whether you're a town resident or not.
Yes, thank you. My name is Susan Wagner. I live just outside town on the southern border of Nederland. And I know you're going to consider the county's request to extend the IGA in January. So I just wanted to put some thoughts out there before you get to that decision. I want to encourage you to accept the county's offer. And I think the town has a very strong hand right now vis-a-vis the county. And I don't see that allowing it to expire in March would strengthen our hand. But I do think it would not help our relations with the county. It would not help the board's relations with the community and that portion of the community that doesn't agree with the effort to basically abandon the development goals in our comprehensive plan. And I think the board needs time to consider how the IGA can be used to best, to maximum benefit for the town. I think the IGA has been looked at, from what I've heard, mainly from terms of what sort of restrictions does it place on our ability, not really to annex, because we know the county's agreed to everything the town requested recently, except there's a density question about development outside town borders. I think we should be negotiating. You should negotiate with the county to get real support, benefits, strategic support, financial, staff, whatever it might be, to help the town cope with the real problems that we have. We know that the town has had trouble. We don't have our second bridge across the river. We have water and sewer issues. We have revenue problems of infrastructure. This is long-term, and we need to find a long-term solution. I'd actually love to see a brainstorming group of former trustees and people who really understand the town. But for the meanwhile, I think the IGA offers an opportunity to try to get something real from the county in terms of support, because we are a small town and we do need assistance. Yes, and if we let it expire in March, we're missing big opportunities to get greater public engagement. On the one hand, that's before the election. It could be an issue in the campaign, and this is an opportunity to engage people in issues. And the comprehensive plan revision, which was supposed to start in January, the last I heard, now apparently we don't have funding for the external consultant. And in the 30-30 process, we discovered we weren't able to engage as many of the public as we wanted, and a lot of us felt it was our failure to have a third-party consultant who would orchestrate it. And that's something that comes with the comprehensive plan. So extending it till December permits us to work, and I think the board should really work hard on getting input on what can we get from the county, what should we try to get in IGA. So that's my comment. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Susan.
Welcome.
Anyone else from the public?
This is Rick Hendrickson. I have something.
Yeah, please, Rick.
This is Rick Hendrickson from the fire department. And I just want to take a minute to introduce Mike Scott, who is going to be our new chief come January 3rd. He's online here this evening. He comes most recently from the State Division of Fire Prevention and Control as their statewide training coordinator. And before that, he was over at Colorado River Fire Rescue, which is the rifle area, being their EMS coordinator or deputy chief, I believe, and other places such as Crested Butte and Denver Health as a paramedic before that. So comes with a lot of good experience. We're really looking forward to it. So I will turn over to Mike to say a few things if you'd like.
Thanks, Rick. I greatly appreciate it. And it's nice to meet everyone. I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you and helping the town thrive as much as we can. I will be starting January 3rd, and I will make a point to come by and meet everyone, and looking forward, like I said, to working with each and every one of you in the future.
Welcome to Nederland, Chief Scott. Really can't wait to meet you, and excited about the future of the Nederland Fire Department and the relationship between us and you and the town. Really glad to have you.
Thanks, Mayor. I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, welcome to Nederland. This is Tanya.
This is Trustee Danforth, and just want to say welcome to Nederland, and we've heard so many good things about you, so we really look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited, and I'm looking forward to the future.
Right. Any other members of the public want to speak on any non-agenda item? Not, we will move ahead and welcome a guest to Nederland. Lynn, welcome, representing RTD this evening and giving us a little update on our regional transportation district.
Thank you so much, Mayor and members of the Board of Trustees. I'm glad to be here. My name is Lynn Geisinger, and I am the elected representative to the RTD board from Western Boulder County. So I represent Boulder, Nederland, Lyons, Louisville, Superior, and unincorporated areas in between. I tried several times pre-pandemic to get to Nederland and meet with all of you, but there was a snowstorm one time and a couple of things that fell apart. But I do work closely with Alex Hyde-Wright, who works closely with your PID, and I hear from residents and am always keeping an eye on the MB bus and on the eco passes and all of those things. I thought tonight I'd do a very quick introduction to kind of what's going on at RTD generally, and then talk a little bit about the MB and eco pass, and then see if you have questions or comments for me. Just over a year ago, the RTD board brought in a new general manager CEO after a big national search. Deborah Johnson is the first woman to run the agency and the first African-American woman to lead the agency. And she's very experienced from a number of different transit agencies around the country, and is doing some really great work. This year, under her leadership, we passed a strategic plan for the next 5 years, and are focused on community value and employee satisfaction and our customer satisfaction. There's kind of I think a change that's taking place with some of that. We restarted the effort that is known as Reimagine RTD, that some of you may be familiar with. It's a 6-year system optimization plan looking at our service plan, and you'll be happy to hear that the NB bus is there and doing well. And the plan is, right now we're about 70% of our pre-pandemic service, and hoping to get back up. We may not get back up to 100% for some time. We have some serious workforce issues. Just in the last few weeks, RTD has offered a $4,000 signing bonus, and we'll be promoting that in a big way. We've started and we'll be continuing. So we're starting to see an uptick in applications, but we are suffering from the same issue that so many people are, with difficulties getting employees, and that makes it hard to bring back a lot of the service that we had. The governor appointed an accountability committee. Just one other thing I'll mention, that spent a lot of time looking at sort of RTD's finances and plans, and came up with some good suggestions that we'll be implementing. One of them is local service councils. We'll be looking at what those will look like in the next few months, where we will be urging and encouraging a different way of more local input in decision making based on a council. And I think that'll be of interest for you. We'll be working with staff and with the county on those things. And the other one is even more of interest, which is that we are starting a fair and equity study. When our new CEO came in, she said, the fares are high and the fares are complicated. And, before we were working towards our CFO and CEO were working towards a specific revenue target. And that meant that the fares were getting high and complicated. And now, we're working more towards what's amenable to keep people coming back to the bus. So I'll talk a little bit about that, and then about the MB. So we have a consultant on board. There's a big process we have to go through with FTA, and doing some data studies. Currently, it's problematic because data studies currently are pandemic affected, of course. So they're trying to wait a bit to get some of that information. But there will be a robust public involvement process, reaching out to people all over the area, our equity populations, persons with disabilities, low income, and certainly, I will work with you and with Alex to keep you informed. I hope that you will comment, and I will certainly be commenting on your behalf. And then the final thing I'd talk about is the NB bus. The NB bus, you've done a great job with your PID and taxing your residents. Just one more thing on that before I go. In terms of getting the eco passes, I hear all the time it's hugely appreciated. I know that's coming up. We'll have to go back to the ballot, I believe, in 2023. So it will help that equity study, you know, a few years ago, we went to a utilization pricing, and before the pandemic, I think that meant that Netherlands price was going to go up a lot. So I'm hopeful that this equity study, fair study, will help with that process. The NB bus itself has not been cut too badly. It was cut a little more, and then some was added in. I think there were originally either 12 or 13 trips each way a day. And now we're at 11 each direction. From Boulder Station, the span is from 5:40 a.m. to 10:50 p.m. From Nederland, the span is 6:33 a.m. So it arrives in Boulder at 7:08 to 11:33 p.m. Pre-pandemic, it was running about 400 people a day, roughly 200 each way. Now, and this is probably changing as Eldora gets open, but the average for this run board, which started in September, is about 167 boardings per day, so about 80 each direction. So it's still significantly down from pre-pandemic, which is true throughout. There are about 10 and a half boardings per hour, roughly 80 people each direction. So that's kind of my presentation. I'd love to hear your comments, or, you know, I can provide Macy with my email and phone number. I'm always open to hearing from you. And as I said, I do hear from residents. A lot of what I heard from residents, it wasn't a lot, but what I heard was the need for the early bus. And I think that's taken care of. So anything I can answer for you?
Thanks, Lynn. I think I could certainly say it. But I'd just say we'd certainly like, you know, through Macy to get your email and contact info. So as we start to come up with other questions, get in touch. But it sounds like Tanya's got one for you already.
Great.
Oh yeah, I just have a question. This is Tanya. I'm on the pass board, and last time we were talking, I think Alexander was saying that Governor Polis was going to be promoting free rides through high ozone months.
Yep.
Is that something that you're familiar with? Is that happening, or is tabled, or what's the news?
No, it is happening. I don't know exactly the status at this point. The governor's budget was includes the proposed budget, includes $28 million for free fares during high ozone periods. It's not clear exactly how long that is or how that will work, but our Deborah Johnson, our CEO, and her team have been working with Dr. Cog. There are places around the country, San Francisco is one, I think LA, others, that have had what they call spare the air days for many years. And so they're looking at what's been done other places and working with Will Tour at the Colorado Energy Office. So I am pretty certain that something like that will happen in the next ozone season. I'm not sure yet what it looks like.
That'd be super interesting to see if more people ride if it's free. And looking forward to it happening. Thanks so much for coming tonight to the meeting.
You're welcome. Thanks for helping with the EcoPass board. Anything else?
Thanks.
Eric, Lindsay?
I don't have any questions at this time, but want to say thank you for coming up or dialing in and presenting to us. We appreciate your time.
You bet. Thanks so much for having me. And again, I'll get back in touch with Macy and get you my information. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. And I hope next time we invite you up, it's, you know, canceled. You can't make it because of a big snowstorm, because that means we get snow again.
I know. We all want it, right? I'm crossing my fingers. All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Lynn.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, moving on to our action items, of which we have 3 tonight, all pretty much follow-ons to things we've done before. So, I think the first 2 are DDA, so we'll turn the floor over to our Executive Director of the DDA, Kate, to introduce it. And, shouldn't be any big surprises in here, but Kate.
Good evening, Mayor Larson and members of the Board of Trustees. I'm here tonight with Resolution 2021-24 and the provision of matching funds for the Safer Main Streets grant. The Nederland Downtown Development Authority Board previously approved providing matching funds in the amount of $70,000 to the Town of Nederland for the Safer Main Streets grant. The Town of Nederland was successful in receiving the grant and now needs to access the funding, and the attached resolution is for the provision of matching funds for the grant. This resolution is attached for your review and your vote this evening. And so the question before you tonight is, does the Board of Trustees support Resolution 2021-24 and the provision of the matching funds for the Safer Main Streets grant?
Trustees, have any questions for Kate or for other town staff on this one?
Just for clarification for everybody, what are some of the bullet points that this grant will provide for Town of Nederland?
So the
What's focus?
It's Miranda. The Safer Main Streets grant is the grant opportunity to do a sidewalk crossing from basically the RTD over to the library. And the intention was to have that as a raised sidewalk to help with speed control, and then also have pedestrian signage, flashing signage to do the crosswalk. And so that's the intention of this grant there.
Okay, great, thanks.
The questions from the board? This is a action item, so I will throw the floor open to members of the public. If any member of the public would like to speak on the Safer Main Streets grant resolution, now would be your chance. Not hearing anything. Can bring this back to the board. Any further clarifications, questions, comments, or a motion regarding Resolution 2021-24?
Just to thank town staff and Chris Pelletier and all the folks who worked on getting the Safer Main Streets grant. And I would move to approve Resolution 2021-24 and the provision of the matching funds for the Safer Main Streets grant.
Do we have a second?
This is Tanya, I'll second.
Macy, we have a motion and a second for approval on the table.
Trustee Danforth,
Yes.
Trustee Coombs Ismail,
Yes.
Mayor Larson,
Yes.
and Trustee Corvallin.
Yes.
Motion is passed. Resolution is passed. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, DDA. And as Eric said, thank you, town staff, for ushering through this grant. We look forward to seeing progress made on it.
Yes, thank you all very much.
Next one.
Yes, next. This is for resolution, or I'm sorry, Mayor Larson, do you want to go? I'm sorry.
Oh, please. You're introducing it again.
All right, sorry. Resolution 2021-23 and the funding of the Ndda Special Event Grant Program. During the 2021 budget process, special event grant funding was approved by the Nederland Downtown Development Authority Board and the Board of Trustees. The attached resolution is needed to authorize the funding and make it available for the community. The attached resolution 2021-23 is for your review and vote this evening. So my question before the board is, does the Board of Trustees support resolution 2021-23 and the funding of the Ndda Special Events Grant Program? And I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Again, do any trustees have questions for Kate?
Well, just to refresh my memory, special event grant program, what exactly does that mean?
So the special event grant program is $10,000 that the Ndda makes available to members of the community that have a special event like the Ndda was an event that we granted $1,000 to this year that will be a recipient of these funds.
Awesome.
It's typically $1,000 limit is what they've talked about. So it's really to help encourage or offset any costs that benefit events that benefit the downtown development district.
And so, do you have another 10,000 for 2022, or is
We
it
do.
You
We
do? Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Other questions? Not, I will open the floor to the public. If anyone would like to speak about the NDDA Special Event Grant Program, now would be your chance. Hearing none, I will bring it back to the board for final comments, or if anyone would like to make a motion regarding Resolution 2021-23.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-23.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Eric with the second. Macy, please call the vote again.
Trustee Coombs Ismail.
Yes.
Trustee Danforth.
Yes.
Trustee Corvallin.
Yes.
And Mayor Larson.
Yes, indeed. Motion passes. We are just cruising along tonight. Thank you, Kate, for introducing those, and have a happy holidays.
You all as well. Thank you.
Action item number 3 is again another one we've heard of before, and unfortunately our Public Works Director can't be here to introduce it this evening, so that falls upon Miranda.
Yes, so tonight is the ordinance for the utility base fee, which was reviewed with the Board of Trustees back on November 9th. And there were no questions at that time. So we are bringing it back to you as tonight's kind of formal public hearing for this ordinance, and are seeking for the board ideally to adopt it and hear the proposed motions. If approved tonight, this base fee ordinance would go into effect on January 23rd, because it is set to hopefully be published this Thursday.
Thank you, Miranda. Trustees, questions for town staff on this ordinance we've seen before? Not. If any member of the public would like to speak on the change in base fees ordinance, now would be your chance. Catch our attention. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Final comments, or somebody like to read one of the motions they see on their screen?
I move to approve ordinance number 824, an ordinance of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Nederland, amending sections 1328, 1358, and 1359 of the Nederland Municipal Code to clarify how utility base fees are assessed.
Do we have a second?
This is Tanya.
Tanya with a second. Macy, one more time.
Trustee Danforth.
Yes.
Trustee Coombs Ismail.
Yes.
Mayor Larson.
Yes.
And Trustee Corvallin.
Yes.
Ordinance is passed unanimously. That has got to be a record for 3 action items up and down tonight.
That's awesome.
Thank you guys all much. We have a single discussion item this evening, and I believe, Miranda, you're going to introduce this one for us again.
Yeah, so at the last meeting, the Board of Trustees did express that you were open to hearing the additional fund request for the American Rescue Plan Act, which we call ARPA. There are 4 requests before you. 2 of them are kind of external requests and 2 are internal requests. And so, Mayor Larson, if it's okay with you, what I'd like to do is let Barbara Hart review her Mountaineer request first, then allow Chris Current to review the food pantries, and then I'll take it over from there and just have each one reviewed before there's a discussion by the board. Would that be okay?
I think that sounds like a very efficient way of doing it.
Okay, so I'd like to invite Barb then to give an overview of her request.
Welcome,
Great,
Barb.
Thank you, Miranda. Thank you, Mayor Larson. My request is to do a Keep It Local campaign. This is a campaign that will encompass all of the businesses in Nederland. It's meant to kind of share information about each business. It includes a full page ad, social media information, social media bursts, website ads, and it really highlights, if we did it every week of the year, 2 pages per week, it would be, 104 businesses, which I think would be phenomenal to highlight. And that goes everything from forget-me-not skincare to the daycares and preschools to the teen center to the nonprofits. And my plan is to include every business that's in town of Nederland in the project. The total request is for 25,000. 24,600 would be used for all of the ad information, and 1,600 will be used for social media, website marketing, and kind of just management of the grant. This is something that I have brought before Gilpin County, and Gilpin County approved it. Our funding will come in the next 2 weeks for Gilpin County, and we're starting the campaign in 2 weeks. I think that it would be really positive for the town of Nederland to do something like this for all of the businesses. It's outside the box of anything we've done before, and I think it could really help everyone.
Thanks, Barb. Actually, maybe a moment of reconsideration if perhaps after each, does the board want to ask questions of the person presenting?
I was just thinking, since we have, a whopping 4 members of the board here tonight, I think, having, instead of having the up down during Q&A, let's throw the floor open for, does anyone have any questions for Barb on the Keep It Local campaign project or proposal?
I do have a question, and that's more related to impact. And because, these funds are limited and this is a significant kind of request from those funds, I was wondering if there's any information as to how we can potentially assess or predict impact on local businesses, whether it's through revenue or otherwise, information or data that the Mountaineer has that we can review when kind of evaluating this request.
Absolutely. We'll definitely be keeping track of everything. Everything that goes through the newspaper also goes on the website. And we keep really good track of everything that's going on the website. As well, all of the businesses that we have done small stories on, which are not anything of this caliber, have been telling us over the last couple of months how much business they're getting out of this type of program. We've been doing very small business stories for almost 2 years, all through COVID. We started in March of 2020, and we've done as much as we can to promote the businesses. This is just taking it to the next level, and we'll definitely share all of the information as it comes in, either monthly or quarterly, to the town.
Yeah, thanks, Barb. I recognize that this is, this has broad-based popular support in the community, as has been demonstrated by the myriad letters that have been coming into us supporting this program. So recognizing that, and this is not sort of a challenge to that support at all. One thing that would be nice to see would be something like a case study that sort of demonstrates how this has been effective in the past and how it will be effective in the future. Because there is sort of another thing going, that it seems like a lot of money compared to some of the other requests. So it would be very helpful, I think, for us to see what kind of impact and sort of raw numbers this can be predicted to have, rather than just maybe getting that information after we make the commitment. But I mean, I don't think that is going to change the reception of this request. I'm just putting it out there as something that I think would be really nice to see in advance, and also set a nice precedent for how kind of public funds are being used when it comes to the business community.
Absolutely. And I would suggest one way to do it would be to take this amount and divide it out by 4 quarters and do the first quarter. And about halfway through the first quarter, see what kind of impact we're having, because we can't give you numbers until we do it. And we can't keep doing everything kind of for free at the paper. And we certainly can't offer full page ads, which is what we're doing here. We're offering a lot for a little. And I'd be happy to break that down, more for you, but I won't have a lot of information until we see how it goes.
Gotcha. Thank you. And yeah, and I also recognize that this could potentially be helpful for the paper, which is obviously something that we want to keep in Ned and that we want to support as a community. And so I don't even remotely begrudge the paper that this money, and I recognize that this is also going to be happening at a discount. Just in terms of when we make these sorts of decisions, it's nice to have some kind of projected impact so that we can measure that later against what actually happened, and then that helps us in the future for making future decisions like that. But
Absolutely. Thank you.
Tanya, did you have a question?
Yeah, are you going to be providing the graphic design for the ads?
Yes, mostly. Because I've already talked to a few businesses about this, I will say that some want to provide their own.
Right, but if someone doesn't, will you provide that for them as part of the grant?
Absolutely. We have a designer that is ready to do these, and we can prepare these a couple at a time or a month at a time to get them ready, so that's not a problem.
So basically what this is your paper providing print ads for the businesses every week. And you said how many per week? Like 4 a week?
Two full pages per week for all 52 weeks of the year.
And each business gets a full page, or you're going to put 3 or 4 on each page, or what's the idea?
The plan is to give a full page with the idea that Nederland has about 90 businesses registered with the DDA, and then several more at the community center and the Caribou Room, which are not in the DDA district. So when
so a business has to be registered with the DDA to get the ad. It couldn't.
No, the town has a list of businesses that are registered in town.
Yeah, but if you're not registered, can you still get an ad?
Yeah, if you have a business in town, then you can get an ad.
Okay, that's just confusing with it. You're saying they registered, and so I didn't know if you had to register for. I'm trying to get the process down for people. So they don't have to register first. They can just talk to you or somebody in your business.
I just want to offer clarification on this is Miranda, that any business operating in town does need a business license per town's municipal code. So I would be concerned if we have businesses then being promoted that are not adhering to town code and registering, getting their application in with the clerk's department.
And that's the list that we went with, Miranda, because that list has the businesses that are not in the district included, like everything at the community center, which are quite a few businesses. So that is what we were going by. I would say that somebody running an Etsy store is probably not eligible for this. They don't have a business license in town. They're not eligible to get a business license in town.
Well, I mean, there's vendors at the farmer's market who probably don't need a business license because they do all their sales through the farmer's market. So why would they get a business license if the farmer's market pays the sales tax? I'm just curious.
The farmer's market would get a ad for sure.
Well, yeah, but what about the vendors who live in town who, I mean, I could see like not everybody. I don't know.
You have to have a business license to do business in town.
Every person who has at the farmer's market has to have a business license if they live in town in Nederland, even though their only sales go through at the farmer's market.
So the farmer's market's different because the farmer's market is a special event in which then vendors operate under that license. And so that's slightly different.
There's quite a few of those.
Right. But if those vendors were then to sell outside of the farmer's market, they should have a business license with town. And so we can, of course, provide that information to Barb if this was funded and let her know, these are the vendors operating when the farmer's market pulls their license. But those are the businesses operating for that 6-month time frame. So yes, I do hear what you're saying, and there are some options. I think that's the only outlier, though, is the farmers market that would have separate vendors without a license.
So even like a therapist is supposed to have a business license, or
Correct.
anybody who has a business has, okay. My other question, I forgot what it was. I got sidetracked on that. What is your readership for the Mountaineer? Like, how many people are we reaching through this?
In print or online, we have over 18,000 on our website. We have over 3,800 right now that are using the website regularly. We have over, yeah. So if you, I mean, broken down by each piece, I could break it down that way, but print readers, we have about 5,000 a week. Our website's kind of going crazy right now, so our website is growing bigger and bigger every day.
Oh, great. So how many people check into the website then regularly, generally?
We have up to 3,800 a week that are checking into what's going on the Mountaineer.
And those are all subscribers to the Mountaineer to get access to your webpage, correct?
Those are subscribers. Some of them are not paid subscribers right now because we changed our web platform in June. So some of them got kind of a free access thing until June.
Gotcha. So right now, because of your promotion, people can just log in and check out the Mountaineer. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Lindsay, did you have any questions for Barb?
I think most of the questions have been asked. I think I'm on board with, the thinking that Trustee Coombs-Ismail brought up, is that we'd like to know the impact, because we want to measure how successful this was, so that if this opportunity comes up again, that we can say, oh yes, giving the Mountaineer X amount of dollars produced X amount of dollars in return for our local businesses. So I don't know if there's any way that, Barb, that you have some kind of information on that, on the impact or dollars that were generated from any of the ads. That would be, I think, a wonderful thing to include and help us to make this decision.
Right. And unfortunately, because we haven't done one yet, I don't know what kind of impact it's going to have. I know that we run a quarter-page ad to a half-page ad on Brightwood, and people see it weekly and say, we saw this. I ran one for the Kaleidoscope Art Gallery, and they had a whole bunch of people that came in for their opening, for their open house, that have said they've seen the ad. We ran an article just on one of the artists from there, and he's had multiple people say they saw it in Mountaineer and they're really excited he's there. So I know that the impact is out there, but I haven't done a full page ad like this because it's a brand new idea.
Yeah.
So
I'm thinking if there's some way to combine, say, the ads that you can run in the paper with some kind of coupon to represent, X number of dollars that people could clip and take to one of our local businesses. And if there's some way we can do that, I mean, that would provide us with the data on who saw it, who's using it, and where did it go. So it'd be amazing to be able to try to include a program like that. I've never run one like that, so I'm not sure what that would take on the town's end, or if we can even do that with the rescue funds. But I think that could be a cool thing to do.
I think if the businesses were willing to do that, we could definitely include it in there. I don't know how many want to give any discounts right now, because a lot of
Well, it
them
wouldn't be discounts. It wouldn't be discounts. It would just be like, here's a coupon that represents $5, and the businesses would return it back to us, to the town, and we would reimburse that from the ARPA funds.
Yeah.
And so that way we can actually be tracking too how many people use these little $5 things in town and how much money did that generate for our businesses. I mean, it would definitely add tracking, and nobody would have to discount their stuff. It would just be using our funds to give money back to our businesses, but allow consumers to choose which businesses, are going to get that money.
Okay.
So Trustee Danforth, I just want to get a clarification. So you're saying that, at the end of the month, a business would come in and like cash in their coupons with town, and then we would cut, because that is possible under ARPA if that's a way you want it. And I think we need to kind of figure out, are you setting aside a certain pot of money so that when we reach X amount, we're done? I don't know how you'd want to structure that, but we could dive into it more if this is a desire of the board.
Yeah, I think exactly like what you're saying is that they would bring in at the end of the month, whatever coupons that they collected from patrons, and we'd reimburse it from a pot that we decided to set aside for this. I think that would be it'd be a fun little experiment, I think, for the town.
We did do a shop local campaign where there were coupons, and I can't remember how many years ago it was, but Katrina Harms did it through the economic funding from Boulder County. And I don't know how successful that was. I know we used them and we brought them into businesses. So for us, it was great. But I don't know how many of them actually made it back to the town at the end of it.
Mayor Larson, Katrina's on, and I don't know if you want to keep exploring this, but if so, she may be able to provide a little insight into that program.
I mean, it's an interesting idea. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, we can table it for another discussion. I'm fine with that too.
This is sounding like it's a more significant project, and probably it certainly would require more than the requested amount, because the requested amount here from the Mountaineer is just to cover the printing ad costs, and that program would be something on top of that. Which, looking at the list before us, if we were to fund all 4 of these, we're left with like $800 from the current tranche. So I think, yeah, like Lindsay said, I think tabling it, I think and reevaluating it and coming up maybe as a next project would be an interesting one, but I'm not sure it's something we want to dive into. I think tonight we need to look at the 4 proposals before us and decide if these are the ones we want to fund right now, or not. And
if there was a desire, we could connect. Katrina, Barb, and I could connect and talk further about how that could work, and then bring this back. But Mayor Larson does bring up a great point. If the request ends up being over this $25,000, it would have to wait. And say you were to fund the other 3, it may have to wait, although you do have that choice, of course, to fund the other 3 or not.
Right.
So maybe at the end of the night, end of this discussion, we can assess how quickly we bring back this Mountaineer request, if I'm on the right track.
Yeah, and my thought was kind of reducing the scope of the Mountaineer ads, reducing the amount of money that's going just to Mountaineer, to handle maybe fewer ads, and maybe putting more businesses on one page and having the coupons, or the city money, in there. So we would be reducing how much would be going to Mountaineer, but we'd be increasing the amount that we could circulate within town.
So that would also put more on a designer who's willing to do, a couple of pages at a time. But when you start adding in 5 or 6 businesses per page, that's a lot more information that has to be gathered. And this is already like way cutthroat to get down to the amount that we have put in there. Would it be worth doing a partial approval of 3 months and reevaluating it in a month and a half to see what has worked? Because you have more ARPA funding coming again in June, I believe. And then in a month and a half, looking at whether or not the next 3 months can be approved. Because we want to start this January 1st, and that's 2 weeks from now.
Well, this is a discussion item, not an action item. So we're not approving this funding now anyway. It's not really on the table. So, but fundamentally, I think that Trustee Danforth is coming up with like a really creative and cool idea that we might not be able to do in this particular context. That I agree with. But I do think it's the kind of thing we should be looking at in the future, and that we should also irrespective of that particular idea, we do need to start establishing kind of robust reporting methods and what numbers exactly does town want in terms of impact of these sorts of things. Because just putting the money out there into the community is great, but sometimes it's really difficult to know how effective it is and whether or not we should do it again. So I think this is a good opportunity to start kind of instituting some reporting metrics, and even just Mountaineer's own numbers, which I'm sure as a newspaper it has on viewership and and web traffic to these ads, would just be really helpful for us to understand how many people are seeing this and what potential impact it could have.
Okay, thank
This
you.
is Tanya. What if each recipient of the ad, because basically they're recipients of the grant as well, because they're getting a free ad, we're obligated to at least keep some kind of report back within like a few months to see if there was any impact from the ad, in their opinion. I know it's not scientific, but it would at least, somebody might say I had no change. Some people might be like it was amazing, and it'd just be curious to see how well ads do work, if they do work at all.
I think that would work with the coupon that Lindsay was talking about, having the business, that coupon go to that specific business, and then they keep them all for however long you decide before they're expired, and then turn them in and see how many are using them would be definitely one way you could do this.
I don't see that possible really, in a way that a lot of people don't remember to bring their coupons when they shop. I mean, I like the idea of it, but like, I just think that a lot of people are going to go, they saw the ad and they maybe clipped it and then they left it on their kitchen table, and then now they need to buy this item. But I mean, plus we don't have the money to actually make these coupons worth anything. So then what's the point of a business collecting them and then returning them in for just kudos, I guess? I guess I feel like we're going down a rabbit hole. But we do need some kind of reporting method to see if it's functional or not. And so I don't have an answer.
I have a related question, Barb. If we were to go with Trustee Coombs Ismail's idea of sort of a 3-month trial, and where 2 months from now we have you come back and give us some idea of impact, however those metrics might be, and obviously we not quite sure what the metrics might look like, but it brought to mind, you said there's roughly 100 businesses in town. You got roughly 104 slots for ads in the year. How do you go about choosing who goes when? And if it's a 3-month sample, in those first 2 months, who are the 8 businesses that get ads? Have you thought of, is there some kind of way of ranking them or deciding who goes first?
As they have come in from Gilpin County, and I already have a pretty big list over here, I have put them in as they have come in. I have communicated with the community and the businesses in person with flyers and online and in the paper. And when they come in, I say, okay, well, we're going to start this. January 6th will be our first paper that includes this. Would you like to go at the beginning of the year, or would you rather go towards the end of the year? Because since they made it in first, they might have a preference to go at the beginning of the year. Some of them have said, this is really not the time of year to be promoting my business. So can we wait until summer, or can we wait until fall? Absolutely. I just have a calendar. I put it all on there, and that's when they want to go. We still do the story on them now. We still get them into the business directory now. Everybody that has asked so far will be in the online directory as of January 1st. So we're already working on building all of those. It's just, when do they want their ad? And we fill it up as we go. We don't think we have 104 small businesses in Gilpin County. We have a lot of casinos. We have some small businesses. We have a lot going on in Rollinsville, but right now we're not counting 104. We're not even close to that.
Any other questions for Barb before we sort of set this idea aside for a few minutes and hear the other 3 proposals?
Just thanks, Barb, for putting this together and for coming up with this idea. It's much appreciated.
Yep, for sure. next proposal or request is from the Nederland Food Pantry. Dennis, Chris, are you taking this one?
I'm taking this one.
Welcome.
Thank you. The town currently authorizes $7,500 a year in support of the pantry, and the pantry is asking that that amount be doubled, since through COVID, we have been serving more than double the number of households. It's pretty direct. We give you receipts, you give us the funding. I will do that for the doubled amount also. Thanks.
Any questions for Chris? I mean, I have to say this one seems like kind of a no-brainer to me, but that's my personal view. But before we get you off the line here, Chris, and before we let you off the hook, I just want to take this, this is the last meeting of 2021, and I want to take this last argument to thank you for all the years of service, because I know you're retiring here at the end of the calendar year, and
I'm trying. They haven't hired my replacement yet.
Oh, so we get to keep you around longer. Is that all it takes, is not hiring a new one and we get to keep you?
No.
The sentiment is still there. Thank you so much for all those years. I think that is no questions for Chris on that, I think. We'll bring this back to Miranda for the final two proposals from the town.
All right. The two proposals, the first one is the police department. Recently, we had identified that the police department is really lacking a robust and comprehensive policies and procedures manual. I did recently email the Board of Trustees about that, and that we are kind of slowly tackling rewrites on our own. And then lo and behold, Lexipol pops into my world. And so Lexipol is a program that many law enforcement departments use throughout the country. And what they do is they actually draft your policies and procedures for you based on federal, state, and local statutes. They ensure that your policies are always up to date. So whenever there's any sort of like federal or state change, they'll automatically make the updates for us. And then they provide a series of training modules that officers can complete for their post certifications annually. That helps to ensure that they understand our policies and that they're well versed in any sort of changes that come forward. Given how small we are, just even first kind of getting our policies straight to begin with right now, and then staying up to date on them is quite a heavy task. And we do feel like with a new leadership team coming on, being a marshal and a sergeant, and some potentially new officers in the pipeline, we would really benefit from having Lexipol policies in place. To get it all started, though, it is $14,045, and that's for the professional policy implementation. There's a kind of a couple sheets on that and what we get, the different tiers we get, and really, if we go that route, we get all the tiers. So a very robust policies and procedures manual. And then every year after that, Lexipol would charge us $2,799.05, which would be incorporated into the police department's budget. Lexipol did explain to me that under ARPA funds, we are eligible to use those to cover this implementation cost. And so, of course, we're very interested because $14,000 is a heavy cost to take on our own. And so would strongly encourage the board to consider applying these funds here to help us just strengthen our police department, especially through that policies and procedures manual.
I'll kick this one off because I think this is a great opportunity, program that we really should do. I'm just curious, how did they justify it within the categories of ARPA? Because we have the categories here, another page further in the agenda than what's on the screen. And I've been reading through it and I can't quite figure out how this applies.
So they provided it's going to take me forever to scroll to it. They provided a guidance page in here. Let me get to it. I just don't have a page number that goes with that guidance page. So let me scroll to it. Okay, it's under this. So responding to the health and emergency, let me share my screen again. Responding to the pandemic in regards to first responders being able to effectively communicate with each other regarding important policy changes. and the continuously training for COVID response. And then it's under that being aware of policies and procedures helps to ensure that our law enforcement officers are mitigating the effects of COVID, are addressing the different spin-offs from COVID, whether that be behavioral or mental health supports. All of those policies tie into that. If they're heading into a use of force call where they're assessing use of force, it's highly appropriate for them to understand policies, and that use of force, what they're saying here, could be tied into mental health effects that are related to COVID. So this is the way in which they've discussed with the Treasury, have been able to tie it back to ARPA funds.
Okay.
And I would argue, considering the report that Marshal Johns has included here, that our police department very much are health staff in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I just wanted to be clear that there is a good standing for using ARPA funds for a purpose such as this, because in the, it is a little less clear than, say, the funding for the clothing closet or for economic development. But
yeah, okay. So then there's also this other piece where that there is a mention of ARPA funds being used to support law enforcement's response to gun violence. So that tier 1 and tier 2 of the policies are all very specific on use of force, lethal use of force or less than lethal use of force. Those are kind of your hot, Larry could use better terms than me, but those are definitely your key policies that we need to make sure we have and our officers are trained on when they're in those really tense situations, that they know how to appropriately respond. Of course, they're trained on that, but statute, since we're a statutory town, when you read statute and say it talks about use of force, in the statute it says, use of force within a law enforcement agency ties back to their policies. Well, if we don't have a strong, comprehensive policy, it really leaves, it makes it tough for the officers to know how to navigate that. And so I think it is important for their safety, our community safety, that we have really thorough policies that outline when, especially in a use of force, when that's appropriate.
Thank you, Miranda.
Larry's on. I don't know if Larry has anything to add, as I'm trying to throw out PD lingo.
Yeah, so real quick on the whole Lexapol thing. I mean, they're very widely used with many agencies and highly respected. I don't know if I've said this in the past or not, but we have had Lexapol here in the past, but it just never could get implemented due to staffing. So, if we're going to go this route, we really got to buckle down and say we're going to implement it, and it's, going to be part of the PD culture, and it just has to get done instead of spending money on something that we're not using. So that's kind of where, when it went away, that's kind of where that disappeared to, so to speak. And then regarding statute also says only enough force which is appropriate and reasonable. And a lot of the statutes say that for law enforcement, what is reasonable and what is a reasonable man judged by. So, it's, yes, it's your policy, but it's also what would be reasonable in the situation. You're also judged by that. So.
Questions from other trustees for town staff on this?
I have a few questions about Lexapol in particular that hopefully someone might be able to answer. But I guess I wonder, so there's a human going over all these different tiers, right, from Lexapol that is employed by them, who's reading our ordinances as well and our code as well as state and federal law, and putting those all together. It's not auto-generated by some software algorithm. Is that correct? I think we lost Miranda.
I think we did lose Miranda. I see the internet sign. Yeah, I guess your question is kind of coming around to is how personalized is this for our department?
Well, because, if it's just something that's going to just spit out some gibberish that our department has to sit and pour through and make
interpret.
Yeah, human legible, then I'm not sure 14,000 is a good use of the money, but if they actually have a person looking over this who is an expert in this, which I believe they do, but I'm not certain on that. So I'd like to get some certainty on it.
Mm-hmm.
And my other question was about speed of implementation. How fast does Lexipol work, and when would we have a policy manual in place that Marshall Johns hopefully could sign?
So when I discussed this earlier today with Miranda and I popped into town hall, the idea was this could be something that could be brought online as soon as the spring in terms of speed of implementation. May not be Marshall Johns. It might be an early thing for the next Marshall, but it sounded like it was a few months.
That Marshall Johns could be involved significantly in the process, because I think that his input would be really, really crucial for the next Marshal coming in to have.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, Larry, if that's something that you foresee happening. Did we lose Marshall Johns as well?
Are we the only two here, Eric?
Macy is moving on my screen. I don't know if
I'm
that
here.
means anything. Okay.
The problem is Macy needs Miranda to unmute her so she can't speak to us.
Oh, geez.
Like Miranda's back.
Possibly.
I mean, fundamentally, I do think we should do this. In my very accelerated education in the world of police administration that I got from being on the Marshal hiring committee, everyone seems to know what Lexipol is. Everybody seems to want to use it or use it, and it does seem to be an industry standard, and it seems like something that we should have for our town.
And it also seems like
I'm back. I don't know if I even got a chance to answer your question. I was just chatting away over here.
No, you did not.
Okay, the answer to your question is yes. We are assigned a Lexipol representative.
apparently her saying Lexipol is a keyword for her computer to shut down.
Wait, did she unmute me before she left?
She did.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I'm not sure I can provide the answers you're seeking, but I can at least let you know what she's saying through the message.
Saying like, yes, we agree.
Oh, she's
back
back
again. We lost you again right as you started your answer.
The answer is yes. I can keep going, but the answer is yes.
So it is personalized for Nederland, and they have a human doing it. Okay.
It is. We have a representative who works side by side with town staff, and it takes 3 to 4 months to implement because of that upfront investment of working with that person. Did you get all that?
Yes. Yes. Tanya.
What's the 2,000 for every year? What is that for?
That's just the annual fee to continue to use their program and for them to update our policies as maybe state, federal, or local changes.
Now, if we quit, does everything just disappear, or do we own the work that's been done?
Yeah, we would then, we could then print out the manual before we quit. It is towns, and actually Larry did indicate we did have Lexipol before. And so this is actually a significantly discounted rate. Normally it would be about 4,000 plus. And it's a discounted rate because we already had them. And so we're not necessarily starting from scratch. As Larry noted, we didn't have the personnel, where now we feel like we do have the people who can commit to getting this put in. And we'd like to do it around, or if not before, the new Marshal starts.
Oh, great. Super. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions from trustees? Not, we can have Miranda tell us about option number 4.
I hope I can. Okay, premium pay for essential workers. We had talked about this when we first brought up ARPA before you, that this was an option, and we were specifically just talking about town staff. And so essential workers, as it's defined, is just the police department and public works. In order to do the premium pay, you have to figure out how many hours were worked within a set period of time and then multiply that by some sort of hourly rate. Mayor Larson, back in the day, had asked us that we look at March through December 2020. So the spreadsheet that I provided is all the staff who are still currently employed who worked for those 9 months and the number of hours worked. My proposal is if you wanted to pay out that whole time frame, you do $2 an hour for your salaried managerial employees, which are Larry, Jen, and Chris, and then $1 for all direct support staff because those ones are hourly and eligible for overtime. And so the total ended up being $22,195.72 if you again were to pay out that full time frame. That time frame could also be adjusted. And you could just look at a couple months, but that is the information before you.
Questions for Miranda?
I'm curious, I'm looking at the chart and maybe it says it right now. For the salary workers, how many more hours in 2020 did they end up working compared to 2019?
So I didn't do a comparison to 2019. I only pulled 2020.
Important to know if they actually did work more than 2019, or then isn't the idea that people were working above and beyond their normal workload?
So the premium pay is actually it's a financial compensation for those who had to do direct interaction and or keep our vital services going. It's not about working more hours. It's about the fact that they couldn't work remote. They couldn't do that. They had to be on the front lines.
I gotcha. Okay. Got it.
Well, my question is mostly around the feelings of town staff and these particular workers and yourself, Miranda, in that context. Does this feel fair and adequate? That is something that would be helpful to know.
Yeah.
Because town staff put this together, my assumption is going to be yes, this does feel fair and adequate, but I just want to clarify that you haven't sort of compressed this as much as possible to fit within the amount that we have, considering the other requests that are on this docket. That's my question.
Yeah. I think the one challenge as town staff we have is just how the government chooses to define essential. I would argue town hall was just as essential in keeping things running from the back end, even though most of us could do it from home, we still kept things afloat. Again, we can't change those. In terms of financially recognizing our peers, though, who truly were out there and having to show up to work every day, I think there is general support amongst the team of providing some sort of compensation to them. I think that's just the downfall, is that you have 20 other employees who, I hate to say that these ones are more essential than the others.
Absolutely. And I think that we can make it very clear that essential in this context is not our definition. It is essential within a very specific sort of spectrum. But yeah,
actually, I guess department heads have known about this for a while, and I think we've all, there was that like wrestling feeling, but I speak for myself and Rita and Dawn. We do recognize and value what this group of employees really had to do and had to be up against, especially thinking about utilities, and they were testing for COVID in the wastewater, and Public Works was still trying to make sure that we were addressing all the infrastructure needs. And of course, PD was handling and dealing with those first responder calls for COVID related incidents. So what they were up against, especially in the height of COVID in 2020, is significant. And so that's where we do feel support in providing this compensation.
Sure. And I guess what I didn't so much, well, I can talk to you more about it offline, because I don't, but I also just want it to be clear, at least, especially to the people who are on this call, that there is buy-in from staff that this is an amount of money that they would feel is appropriate for the risk that they took, and not simply a pittance or an empty gesture on our part. That's what I want to make clear, that this would actually feel good for town staff getting this hazard pay, getting this sort of recognition, and that we are allocating enough. Not that we're allocating too much. I'm not even remotely considering that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is a significant bonus. I mean, it comes to them kind of in the format of a bonus. This is a really significant bonus to these individuals.
Great.
I mean, Larry's on here. I guess Larry could share firsthand how he feels, but and going over this with a few other people, they felt comfortable and were actually, you know, really pleased that this is being considered for them to receive these types of funds.
Thanks.
Other
That
questions,
was my
Miranda?
question.
Yeah. Other questions, Tanya, Lindsay?
No, I mean, I think I asked Miranda a while ago why we can't include the fire department on this, and it's just, I guess they're not part of town staff, and I guess I just.
They're not town employees, yeah.
So you could, I mean, I know this came up when this first came up, like essential is also, you know, different grocery store workers and other people like the food pantry. They would have to turn over their personnel records to me. And I know that's tough, but it's definitely an option if you want me to ask, you know, fire department if they're open to providing us that data. I have to calculate it though. The government is very specific on how we calculate premium pay for essential workers.
Yeah, I mean, I just would love to include them if they wanted to, but I don't even know if we approve everything that we've got in front of us, that we don't even have the money. So
$800 left.
yeah, it just feels kind of wrong not to include them, but because I know like the EMTs and the fire department are vital just as much as the police department, you know. So I don't know, but
well, you
other
always
than
have that second tranche of funding. I'm happy to connect with.
maybe for the second we could honor them.
If they're interested, yeah. If they're interested in turning over the records we'd need.
Gotcha.
Does the fire district not receive any ARPA funds?
I have no idea if they got
They might
ARPA
also receive
funds.
their own.
So they
They
just
might have their own. You have to check. Actually,
I think.
yeah.
Where does the Nederland Fire, I know it's off topic, but where does Nederland Fire Department get their funding from then, if not from Town of Ned?
They get it from the property taxes, but within their district. Their district is much larger than Netherlands jurisdiction.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, Rick, I know Rick may have not be completely on, but Rick, do you know if you got ARPA funds?
It's Rick. I'm not aware that we do, but it doesn't mean we can't look into it. Might not be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the county has a significantly larger pool of ARPA funds that they're trying to figure out what to do with right now.
Yes. They have 63 million, I think, if I'm right.
Wait, say that again. How many million?
63.
63
for
million.
their first tranche, and then 60. Chris and Katrina, correct me if I'm wrong. 63 for their first tranche, 63 for their second, for a total of 126 million.
That sounds correct.
Okay.
And
much more than us.
Yeah, and off topic. I know I'm getting off topic. I mean, you guys are more privy to what's been going on. Have they been discussing this sort of thing for using ARP funds to fund the fire departments of their area of the county?
So they broke into 3 subcommittees. They've got economic, affordable housing, and mental health and resiliency are 3 different subcommittees. And there are members from Nederland on each one of them. And so from those subcommittees, there will be recommendations provided that are, you know, obviously will represent Mountain on how to use those funds to benefit our community.
Gotcha. All right, well, I don't have any more questions.
Thanks, Tanya. Lindsay, did you have any questions about the pay?
No, not at this time.
Bring us back, like we've mentioned or alluded to several times, the 4 proposals before us have a grand total that's just under our remaining funds within the first tranche by like $800 and some. So, I mean, the question now before the board is, and as Eric pointed out, we're not making actually any decisions tonight. This is a discussion item. Which ones are does the board want to see move forward? We can move forward with all of them or none of them. But I'm curious. I'm kind of I guess I'll, maybe we can start with the low hanging fruit and see if we have a nod of 4 to move forward with approving the request from the food pantry. So I think, having listened to us, that one I feel like is the easiest to make a decision on. So, Lindsay, yay or nay on the food pantry?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Tanya?
Yes.
And myself as well. I was right. That was an easy one. I think the other two sort of the next round would be the two town proposals, the police department and the premium pay for employees and for essential workers, both of which I'm in favor of. Tanya, do you have opinions on either or both of those?
Oh, I'm in favor of them as well.
Okay. Eric?
Yes, I am in favor of those.
Lindsay?
Yeah, me as well. I'm in favor of both.
All right, so that's 3 out of 4 done like that. All right. But we spent most of our discussion time on the request from the Mountaineer, and we heard different proposals, both to I heard sort of to table the request and bring back a different version of it that involves some way that involves coupons or some kind of more significant program, which at this point is difficult, says we have $25,846.77 left in our tranche. That was one proposal I heard. I heard another one about funding it for the first 3 months at sort of a 1 quarter rate, and having the Mountaineer come back with some kind of metrics or discussion in February of impact of this proposal. And the proposal would be on the table to fund it all 25,000. I'm curious kind of where people, Eric, you're the one who proposed the idea of a, metrics and maybe a staged funding. What do you stand by that? Do you, or the discussion change your mind in other ways?
No, I don't think it changed my mind. I mean, I just want to. This is a difficult one for me only because I don't know fundamentally what impact a $25,000 investment would have on businesses. I can obviously recognize that it would be valuable in some way, but I don't know how valuable or in what way it's valuable. I know that it would be valuable to the Mountaineer, and it would almost be easier to understand if it was just simply a request to support the Mountaineer for $25,000, right? Like in some ways that would be simpler. So I am not against this. I would like to be able to understand in a more kind of comprehensive and data-based way how this impacts our community. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So having it just be the first quarter would give the Mountaineer and Barb time to come up with a way of showing us the impact, and maybe we'd get letters from some of the businesses that were supported that would support her data as well. I mean, I kind of like that.
Potentially be a way.
Yeah, because there's no other way, obviously. I'm not a fan of the coupon. I like the idea of it where you bring it in and the business can get more money if they get their customers to bring in the coupons, and maybe they could maybe that would work, but we need more money, and that could be a good campaign for a future maybe funding.
I mean, I would even love to just see, we're going to have, even if it was an estimate based on previous averages, like this much web traffic, this many eyeballs on this many businesses, and we're going to potentially drive up engagement with businesses by this percent or whatever it might be, that's based on maybe metrics that Mountaineer already collects. Like I don't really want anyone to have to do tons of extra work, but just to sort of compile the numbers that are relevant to a program like this and provide them for us in a way that makes it very clear what kind of impact we're having.
Mm-hmm. Or we could just do the full year, and at the end of the year, look at the data and know in the future that these sort of campaigns are useful. And if it seems like it didn't have a huge impact, then we know for the future that they're not, and just kind of wash it, kind of call it as at the very least, it's a good way to keep the newspaper afloat.
Yeah, and in some ways it's a celebration of local businesses, which I cannot possibly be against, right? I'm obviously not against that. And simply putting some funds towards doing such a thing seems valuable. But from this particular set of funds, which is ARPA funding, and the kind of reason why it exists and why we're trying to what we're trying to do with them, it'd be nice to know if that was actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Lindsay?
Yeah, I think I have to agree a lot with what Erica said. I'm not against this proposal per se. I think it's just a hard one. For me, it's a lot of money. $25,000 is a lot of money, and that's why I'm not as enthusiastic as I would be if it was a smaller amount of money, or if it was in a slightly different form than it is now. But I'm having a hard time with that amount of money without knowing the impact. So yeah, obviously I like the idea of the kind of like city bucks or Ned bucks to have a way of tracking the success of this and sharing some of the money directly with our businesses who might need it or who want to encourage people to come visit their stores. And it's yeah, so I'm on the fence with the way it is now, but I'm hoping in the future we can come back with something a little bit different.
Well, perhaps a possible way we could look at this is, since we aren't deciding anything tonight, is to move forward with this idea is kind of in the first quarter approach. And since it's coming back before the board, would come back before the board for approval in the early January meeting, maybe it's something that Barb could sort of flesh out the proposal a little bit with some idea of how she could show impact of these in terms of web traffic or engagement with the ads, those kinds of things. So we could just have a little bit better idea before committing the funds for the first quarter, how we'd judge the impact of it by March 1st. And so that as we come before March 1st to decide whether to continue the program with the Mountaineer or not, we'd have then some idea of, here's what we set out thinking we were going to be able to get out of this program. Did we or did we not get that?
Yeah.
That sounds good to me fundamentally.
So does that make sense to you, Miranda? Did you get, since this is a discussion item, did you get some kind of a sense of where the board is?
Yes. Are you going to take public comment on all together?
Yeah, I mean, this is a discussion item. We can take public comment on these for sure. Throw the floor open to public comment. Sorry, I've kind of forgot we were discussing it, got moved into efficient mode, but this is obviously not anything decided tonight. We are going to be making these official decisions at our next meeting. So I will throw this floor open to public comment for anyone who would like to speak on these 4 items.
This is Katrina, and I'll go.
Go ahead, Katrina.
Katrina Harms, Nederland, Colorado. Obviously, thank you very much for the pantry, but I kind of want to talk about Barb's proposal a little bit. I've been using the newspaper the last 6 months to advertise the vaccine clinics and other human services that we have in the town. And I believe it's a very valuable mechanism for getting the word out in this community. And she goes all the way to Allens Park as part of the ARPA Commissioners ARPA Steering Committee. I've been working on communications and some other ideas and stuff to work on as far as funding from them. I do want to say that I would like the DDA to step in maybe, and maybe you should ask them to help fund maybe what you can't. But also, when I was a business owner, we did this shop it forward, and I cannot remember it, but Michelle Martin, when she was the town clerk, did this program. So town has the documents on it, and I have all of the documents on it because I worked on it as the chamber and the DDA, and it was amazing. It was a lot of fun. It produced income and trackable, more importantly, the trackable information where people were shopping. And we got to go to town hall every month as a business and collect money that people had spent in our stores and had been also paid to spend money in the store. It's complicated and I don't want to go into it, but Lindsay was really close with it. And I think that funding something like that, even a little later, would be key. It was a great idea. But I also really feel strongly that the newspaper is an important part of this community. And I am offering my help to Barb to help come up with some tracking systems and to figure out what that means in order to keep this going. And I only believe that having this kind of program in the paper will help her circulation and also then my ability to get my human services messages out across the community. So that's probably the bottom line of my comments.
Great. Thank you, Katrina. Anyone else?
This is Tanya. I'm wondering if the next meeting we could get like a little synopsis of the past Shop It Forward campaigns. I vaguely remember that, and I just can't remember it at all. But I remember it. It is very similar to what Lindsay was talking about.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
we bring it back.
Mm-hmm. We could have that as sort of an information type thing. Other members of the public want to speak on these items? Not? Thank you all very much. Miranda, I think we have a sort of a plan for the next meeting on these proposals.
Do you want the ones that were approved to move forward as action or consent?
I think those three could go into the consent agenda. There was a full unanimous vote of those here this evening, and then we'll have a discussion item on the Mountaineer piece, or an action item for the discussioneer piece.
Okay, great.
All right. Staff reports.
So just a reminder, we were just kind of throwing them all together and not running them through one at a time since they're available for you to read. But there's this really fun photo in front of you. Nikki Dunn and Emmett Pelletier were announced as the 2021 Employees of the Year. They tied. Featured in the background there, Chris took this photo and didn't tell them what it was for, but is Jen Landon. And Jen Landon was one of a couple kind of runner-up, but I just want to celebrate Nikki and Emmett, but also highlight Jen today because Jen Landon passed her Water B exam, which allows her to be ORC of water. She's already ORC of wastewater, and that's very significant. Given that Chris Pelletier has submitted his resignation, it's important we have someone who could take over as ORC, and officially as of today, Jen can do so. So just a huge congratulations to all three of them, and this is a fun photo now that we have for them. I don't know if there's questions about our staff reports. I'm happy to answer them on the team's behalf, and then of course Larry is here as well.
Trustees have any questions for any of the staff reports?
Awesome job, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate you all.
Thanks. One thing that's not in here that I did just email the Board of Trustees is that we were awarded the sustainability grant, which funds our sustainability coordinator. And so Parks Manager is already out there. Applications for that are due January 7th. We will release the sustainability coordinator tomorrow, and applications for that will be due January 12th.
All right. Yeah, and congratulations to town staff on that. It's great to have that going again this year. Yeah, I did I'll do a verbal report, and I'll keep it short in light of, this late evening we're having here so far tonight. had a bunch of just sort of random meetings over the last few weeks. We had Congressman Joe Neguse was up here in Nederland last week at the Health and Human Services Fair and had a chance to chat with him. I know he was there meeting with Chris and Dennis and Katrina and all of our Health and Human Services players up here in Nederland. And it was great to see him up in Ned, though he had to hide the fact he was up here or his daughter would get angry that he didn't bring her up with him for the carousel. She is absolutely obsessed with the carousel of happiness, which is great to hear. Trustee Apt and I this morning attended a meeting with the Boulder County planning staff with regards to what's going on at the Cross Mine up in Caribou. And one big outcome of that is that we're going to host the county for a community information event, including a Q&A for the county tentatively on January 25th. We're still nailing down the date, so don't quote me on that one quite yet. We're going to know that within the next day or two, and there'll be an opportunity over the next month for Nederland residents to submit questions. We'll collate those, get those to the county so they can address the questions that everybody has about what's going on up the mine and with regards to the Mine Land Reclamation Board and all those pieces in late January. And finally, with mine, I just want to take an opportunity here to thank town staff for an incredible 2021. We've got a few of you here tonight, Miranda, obviously, Macy, Larry Johns. I think that's actually all we have here tonight, but thank you guys so much. I'm going to throw this out too to our fire department. I mean, you guys aren't town staff, but we really appreciate Rick, you, and Mike, Chief Scott. Hopefully you can pass along to the rest of the fire department our appreciation for all you guys have done in 2021 for us. And I've got started now, so I want to thank Dennis and Chris and Katrina, you guys, for the Health and Human Services side of things. You guys have gone above and beyond this year. Katrina getting all those vaccine clinics, testing clinics. Thank you guys so much. And John and Barb, thank you for the Mountaineer, for all you guys have done, getting the word out, helping us keep this community together over the last year. And now I figure I got Ben. Thank you for showing up tonight. The only one on here I didn't call out yet, but I just want to thank all you guys. It's been a long year, and I keep hoping 2022 will be better, but I don't want to get my hopes up at this point and get disappointed again. But thank you guys for everything all of you have done all year. Eric, you're up next.
I guess all the trustees are just chopped liver, huh, Mayor?
Fighting words.
I was gonna say, you're trying to get me in trouble here.
Always. Obviously, I second everything that you said there. The things I've been working on this past month or so have been the IGA discussions with Bullock County with Trustee Taylor, and also the extremely rigorous but very rewarding Marshall search, which hopefully one day will end. But I'm not holding my breath. ProSab has been extremely busy, in addition to the continuing work that we've been up to on the Barker Shoreline Trails and Stewardship Project, the Big Springs Egress, the bike park, compiling data, and we actually did compile the data for the Trails Survey and got some valuable information from that for the Trails Master Plan revision. Continuing discussions with Nedrink and Tennis about incorporating them back into town. We worked on the Parks Manager job description. Hopefully that hiring process is going to happen quickly and efficiently, and we'll have a Parks Manager in place soon. We're also, kind of reworking that Adopt a Bench program and evaluating some of the current proposals for it that ProSab board members have been putting forward. We've been updating Nederland's Parks and Rec asset list, which I think is a really important thing to have and have it be very clear. And we're also working on taking those assets and mapping them so that we can kind of see visually where everything stands. And the last big thing that ProSab is working on is new parks and open space rules and regulations, which was a request from the PD. And so we're sort of putting together language that will come before this board sometime in the future in terms of giving our PD some tools to enforce some of the rules and regs that are now not in town code. So they can't actually be enforced legally. So we're working on that. And I'm sure there's a lot more that I forgot, but thank you all for a fun year.
Is that all you're doing, Eric? Come on. I mean, sounds like an easy slate there, but no. And thank you, Eric, for, for sticking with us for, this year and for the 2 years so far. You just kind of preempted what I was going to do, is thank you guys individually afterwards. So you make me look like, I'm just correcting myself now, but thank you so much for all you've done this year.
I wasn't fishing.
Tanya.
I don't have a report. I don't think we had any meetings with the Eco Pass.
Well, but thank you too for, for the Eco Pass and for working on the parking stuff and for all you've done, with the Big Springs egress. I know that one's kind of stalled out again because of external forces, but, thank you for all the work you put in this year, and, especially under these circumstances of virtual meeting world where it makes it so much harder to get to know each other.
That's true. Well, you're welcome, and thank you as well for all your hard work.
Last but not least, Lindsay.
Hi. Well, I want to thank, everybody on the Board of Trustees and especially town staff for being exceptional this past year. And it's been a lot of fun working with all of you. And, I've been working with Tanya recently on the downtown parking, which is a complicated issue that hopefully we'll have before you guys soon. It was supposed to be in our last work session, but got bumped. So I look forward to discussing it with you guys in the future. And obviously, if you wanted to talk with me about any of the ideas I have or things I've read, I'd love to chat with any one of you. So I'm available if you want to reach out.
And I'll get in particularly bad trouble if I don't thank you for all you've done over the last year. On the board within, stepping up to help work with the youth advisory board and the parking projects and all the others. Thank you so much for serving Ned. Think that covers our trustee reports and staff reports. I do know we have one piece of other business from Miranda.
Yeah, as there was thinking happening, I just wanted to mention that we are going to be heading obviously into election, and at your meeting on the 4th is when nomination petitions it's the first day for circulation. And Trustee Danforth, Trustee Corvalin, Trustee Apt, and Mayor Larson are all up for re-election if you so choose to run again. So we'll of course bring that to the meeting and have that emailed out, but we're 2 weeks away from getting that rolling.
Yes, indeed. I mean, wow, that could leave just you last man standing, Eric.
I resign no.
Does anyone else have any other business they want to bring up? Anyone want to adjourn 2021?
Thank you, Mayor Larson. And I motion to adjourn.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Macy, one last time this year.
Mayor Larson,
Yes.
Trustee Danforth,
Yes.
Trustee Corvalin,
Yes.
and Trustee Coombs Ismail.
Absolutely, yes.
The meeting is so adjourned. Happy solstice, everyone. Happy holidays.
Happy solstice. Merry holidays.
See you guys all next year.
See you
Happy
next year.
holidays.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.